Let's have a little chat about the Champions League because, of course, it returned midweek with a brand new format. There are a couple of fairly forgettable games involving Man City and Arsenal, both of those finishing 0-0, but terrific nights for Liverpool. Of course, for Aston Villa, back in the top European competition for the first time in 41 years. And Celtic, impressive as well, with that 5-1 win against Slovan Bratislava at Celtic Park on Wednesday. But there has been, as you might have read, a little bit of criticism about this brand new format. I mean, listen, Tim, it feels a little bit unfair to be already laying into the Champions League. We're only at match day one, but it's going to take a while to get used to this new league phase. But the criticism seemed to be, and I just wonder whether drawing your sample size from the Man City game and the Arsenal game is really enough to say this, that there's a lack of real jeopardy in this year's Champions League stage. Do you concur with that, or think the criticism has been a little bit too much too early? Yeah,
a little bit too much too early, but I do agree to a certain extent. I think there's no need to panic in games, and they need to take maximum points as long as they don't lose games. I think we will find. Let's see how it pans out towards the end of the season, but you're probably going to get the best teams coming through. Obviously, they've got so much opportunity to be able to do it. Don't have to panic. Just plot their way through. I think Pep Guardiola and Man City will not be panicking after a 0-0 draw. There's some decent teams in it, and there's some not so good teams in it. I tell you, who is happy with it? All the clubs that are in the Champions League, because there's more games, it's more money,
exactly,
and there's more coverage, on the games. But I think it's a bit early to draw any conclusions. But what we will see is, I think when we do get through to the knockout stage, it'll be very, very exciting, because every team left in it will be not capable of winning it, obviously, but capable of springing a surprise, certainly. I use Aston Villa as an example. No one will want to play Aston Villa because
that was a terrific start, wasn't
it? Brilliant start for them. It's a game you would expect them to win. Premier League teams are going to be obviously the main force, I would suggest, along with Real Madrid, and Bayern Munich have had a brilliant start to their domestic campaign, and I think they might be a team who might push to win it. But for me, it'll be the same old faces. We're looking at Man City. We're looking at Real Madrid. I think Arsenal possibly, if on their day, could beat anyone. But certainly the teams who are going to be left in it after this group stage, after the league stage, is going to be very, very competitive.
By the way, 6 minutes past 12, first drop phone of the afternoon, if you heard that at home, and it was, of course, Boydie. Boydie, welcome back. He's gone very early this afternoon. And so, I mean, Tim mentioned this. One of the criticism is that from the big club's point of view, this is a money spinner as opposed to an excitement spinner. Is that a fair criticism?
Again, I think it's probably too early to say, to talk about the differences, if it's better or if it's worse. And I suppose after maybe a few more games, we can start to say that.
People don't like change, though, do we? Across the board, whether it's in sport or life.
Yeah, I think so. And, there's been some big games, some big matchups, which I'm sure you still get at group stages, don't you? The Liverpool against Milan, City against Inter, but then there was a few mismatches as well, where there was a few big scorelines. So I know there's been a lot of talk about the sort of player welfare. Is it too many games and things like that? So I know there's been a lot of players coming out speaking about that, and I'm not sure there's going to be many people feeling sorry for them, but you can maybe understand where those big teams are coming from. But certainly from an owner's perspective and a club's perspective, of course, financially, they want as many games and as many big games as possible.
Well, I mean, that's one of the other criticisms, that this is appeasing the very clubs who were pushing for that Super League as well. I can tell you all about change. I experienced that at the start of last season, if I cast my mind back. Coming to you, Boydie, on this. I mean, listen, on a positive front, it's thrown up some very early big clashes, not least of all the one we saw on Tuesday night between AC Milan and Liverpool, which actually was a terrific game.
Simon, I don't get the criticism of it. We sat here probably last year, and all of a sudden you could more or less pick the two teams that were coming out of the group stage, and it was boring. You look at this right now. There'll be some big teams now that fight on to finishing that top, and they'll still have the backup of finishing the middle group, and they'll go into a playoff. I don't see the criticism of it. I think it gives lesser teams more of an opportunity to pick up money as well, which you would then look to. That will help the leagues that they play in, because everybody gets a kickback off UEFA for represent their teams representing in the competition as well. I don't really see the big issue with it. I thought, the difficult part was actually having it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, rather than just a Tuesday and a Wednesday last week. But, you know, I don't see any issue with it, and I'm looking forward to the competition, because I think it was getting to the stage where, you know, the old four teams in the group was, as I said, you could more or less say, they're going to go through, they'll play in the last 16, and then that's it. You know, you look forward to the competition. I mean, how many times have we said that the competition starts now, you know, February time when they all came back? I don't mind this format, because there is some big teams that are going to have to, you know, get results straight away.
Echo what you say there, Bodie. Every group you could normally nearly pick the top two. Every single group you think it's got to be one of them, and then there might be surprise. Here there could quite easily be surprises, and I think it gives a lot more teams more opportunities of getting out of this 9 group stage, as you could say.
And just a final thought on this, because inevitably, because of those extra games they're going to be in this league phase of the Champions League season, it's thrown up the annual debate about the amount of games that players are playing across the season. Rodri's been very outspoken about this. I thought it was interesting yesterday that Pep Guardiola kind of said this is a player issue, not a club issue, because when you look at it, yeah, you can understand it from the players' point of view, but it's the clubs who are pushing for more games. You look at Tottenham at Newcastle. Remember the end of last season? We left here on that Sunday. A couple of days later, they're both flying out to Australia to play a friendly. Yeah. That's the clubs pushing for this. So in terms of how this is sorted out, the clubs have a big responsibility.
They have a huge responsibility, Simon, and I agree with that. I can see both sides of it, because we all know the hierarchy at every football club. What's their main aim? To be success. How does that bring success? Generating more money, so then we can put that money into the squads. From a player's point of view, you're going, we just feel as though we're getting used, and we're having to play more and more games, and you're hearing big players come out and talk about the overload and the tiredness and fatigue. You only get tired if you're doing well in competitions. If you're not playing many games, it means you're out in the Carabao Cup,
the price
out
of
in the
success
FA Cup.
doors, isn't it?
Exactly, Simon, and we all wanted success.
I know you've mentioned Rodri there, but there's not many big players, you know, at the elite level. I know Rodri's probably going against what I'm about to say here, but the elite level, you don't really see many of them coming out and moaning about it, because they base their career on success, winning trophies, going into you know, the latter stages of competitions, whether that's Champions League, whether that's World Cups, whether it's European Championships, whether it's Copa America. That's what happens. If you are an elite footballer, you're going to go deep into competitions.
I think it will.
Messi doesn't moan about winning stuff.
The momentum will come, though. I think we've heard it. You know, we heard Alisson, we've heard Rodri. Yeah. There will be more and more players coming out. We see Pep Guardiola saying it's not about the owners, not about the managers, it's about the players. It's up to them now. Maresca said exactly the same thing in his press conference as well yesterday. This will gain momentum. I think there will be the Club World Cup, for instance. There's a change to format. There's going to be more games than that. Look, if I was a player, the more games means you're more successful. So I'd be happy with that situation. But Tim, that's why we've got big squads now.
Have you noticed it's the bigger players, the world-class players that are coming out? And
they're wheeling them out.
Because they're playing international football as well.
They're playing international, but these players are the people who are influential, the big players. If you hear a lower Premier League player come out and saying
it's not going to make any difference. So the hierarchy, UEFA and FIFA, they'll decide what happens.
Yeah, but they're obviously fronting this. It's obviously they haven't just come out and said, I'm going to front this media and I'm going to put it out there. There must be other people in the changing room speaking about it. Surely there isn't just one person. Or
Have you ever played with a player that sits in and moans about the amount of games he's playing? You want to play games of football?
Of course you do. Of course you do.
Yeah, and I think, in truth, just rounding this, I'm not sure UEFA or FIFA will really care what Rodri or anyone else has to say.